we will be fighting back to get our lands and to finish this unjustified occupation of our lands in Syria and other countries.
Would you say that what happened on the 7th of October would be justified at all?
Somebody who occupies your land, demolishes your house, bombs your car, kills your children, what excuses are we talking about? Something that started with the violation of everything human and right. It's not justification. It is reality. People who suffer, who are poor, who have no food, and who have no rights in their own land. What could you expect to do? We are talking about the death of more than 40,000 people. We are talking about more than 116 aggressions on the Syrian territories, attacks on civilian buildings, hospitals, institutions, schools. Now I urge superpowers, new superpowers like India, to call to stop such brutal actions and aggressions from Israel.
This is an India Today exclusive. The war between Israel and Hamas has now expanded to many a country, which includes all the countries in the region, also Syria. Humanitarian crisis aside, we're looking at military infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, strategic infrastructure now under attack from Israel. What's really happening on the ground in Syria? To discuss this and more, I'm being joined in this exclusive conversation with the Syrian Ambassador to India, Ambassador Al-Khatib. Thank you so much. Ambassador Bassem Al-Khatib, thank you so much for joining us over here. It is a very serious situation when it comes to what's happening on the ground. If you could just tell our viewers, explain to us what's happening, how is Syria looking at this escalation?
I do thank you for giving me the time to come to you, but let me start with saying Happy Diwali.
Thank you so much.
When you are trying to look for a smile, you are looking for peace. So as long as you have started to talk about the escalation of situation, let me clarify something. Many people indicate to the 7th of October as a beginning of the escalation, while we are talking about a very old thing. The whole question started with the occupation of others' lands. This includes Palestine, Lebanon, and Syria. So this is only a kind of step behind many steps. The escalation started when the people raised the voice that we want our rights. I will be concentrating on the question of Syria, but we have seen the Israeli occupation as the first step of violation of human rights, international law, and the rights to live in peace. Quite sure that everybody has heard what happened in Palestine. We are talking about the death of more than 40,000 people. The other step was the aggression on South Lebanon, demolishing, killing, attacking, bombing, to the extent that serves that bigger plan or bigger map. For Syria, yes, we suffered from this. Unluckily, I will be giving you some examples. We are talking about more than 116 aggressions on the Syrian territories, attacks on civilian buildings, hospitals, institutions, schools. We used to use schools for teaching, but sometimes we use them to help homeless people. The last example I want to talk about is something like 10 days ago. Bombing that targeted a building in the area of Mezza, a very peaceful place. But the victims were not Syrian and were not Iranian, as the Israelis claim that they are attacking, blah, blah, blah. They were a professor from Yemen who escaped his country to try to live in Damascus and to teach at one of the Syrian universities. The victims were the doctor, his wife, 3 children, 3 small daughters, the elder of whom was 9 years old. This is the last step I'm telling you about. I can give you a kind of bigger list about the realities, but simply speaking, I'm telling you, it's an aggression, an attack, a violation that targets the peace and stability in Syria.
Ambassador, no aggression or no attack can be condoned. And like you said, that there could have been reasons that you stated why we are seeing the escalation and the provocation, but nothing can justify an October 7th attack. Would you say that what happened on the 7th of October would be justified at all?
I will put it in a very simple way, at the human level. Somebody who occupies your land, demolishes your house, bombs your car, kills your children. What excuses are we talking about? Something that started with the violation of everything human and right. It's not justification. It is reality. People who suffer, who are poor, who have no food, and who have no rights in their own land. What could you expect to do?
So you don't consider that a terrorist attack as has been stated by the West?
I'm giving you the bigger real story. It's earlier to this event. This event, without giving any description, is a normal, expected step after the preambles. Occupation, killing, kidnapping, desperation, that leads to other steps. For my country, we understand that we will be fighting back to get our lands and to finish this unjustified occupation of our lands in Syria and other countries.
Okay. Now, we've seen the attacks in Lebanon, and we've seen a lot of people move from Lebanon into Syria.
True.
So there is a refugee crisis that Syria is now looking at, with so many Lebanese entering Syrian territory. But nobody's safe anywhere, because then we saw Syria being bombed by Israel. How are you looking at then protecting civilians and civilian lives? Because it seems like nobody's safe in either Lebanon today or Syria.
I will give you a kind of different answer. Exactly 2010 or 2011, before the escalation in Syria, Syria was a fully sufficient country. We used to make our food, our dress, our cars, our buildings, our roads, our everything. Education was totally free. Healthcare was totally free. It was only in Syria Palestinians used to enjoy the same rights of Syrians. All Arab countries were allowed to come to Syria to live without any kind of visa. So when it comes to Arabism or the nationalism of Arabs, it started from Syria. Everybody was able to come. In this regard, we used to respect also historical friends, like India, if you like. So it was fully peaceful. When it comes to your consciousness and your inner feeling that I can go to Syria anytime to live there, those things are unforgettable. So the Lebanese under the war, Palestinians in this aggression, if they seek a kind of place to go, it is Syria, despite the brutal aggression and bombings from the Israelis.
But the West terms Syria as a part of the Axis, so to say, and the fact that it is oppressive. That's what the West has been saying, and is a part of the proxy war between Israel and Iran. How would you respond to these terms, these terminologies, these allegations against
I do thank you for this very clever question. I need to tell you something about theoretical studies of mass media. If you follow the writings of Van Dyck, or Van Dyke sometimes they pronounce it, when he speaks about the use of lies in politics and mass media, he simply says everybody lies and tells different stories. Do you call it an access? I'm calling it a reality. If terrorists from around 83 countries come, simply speaking, to destroy the country of Syria, after I have just told you that it was fully sufficient of everything, making everything, living in peace. 83 terrorist groups from around the world, just to finish this story called Syria. And if historical friends like Iran and Russia helped you, what would you expect Syria to do? When it comes to the image the Western mass media is trying to create, I don't think everybody believes this, because killing 40,000 Palestinians puts the boil in the other place.
Right. You just spoke about Russians and your Chinese friends as well, but you have troops, Russian troops in Syria. And there were some attacks that took place in bases in Syria where Russians are also stationed. What's the situation? Are the Russians safe in Syria? And could the Russians ever get involved in this war?
I will give you a very simple answer. Russia and Syria are in a strategic alliance. Other things become details we could handle.
Okay, that's a very cryptic answer. But could they ever join hands? What about the Chinese? Could they ever enter?
The Chinese is a different story. We don't have this military cooperation. It's a different story. But for the Russians, they know what they are doing. And the Syrians are in a very good, strong alliance with Russia.
That's a very interesting answer, Ambassador. The Iranians have come under severe attack by Israel. Only yesterday, they're saying that some of the secret military bases have been attacked as well. And there has been some serious damage that has been done to those bases. In such a scenario, with the kind of cooperation that we're seeing between Iran and Syria, do you see the countries really retaliate and respond? Because the supreme leader did not really come out and say that, yes, Iran is going to retaliate.
According to my humble experience, you need to follow what's going on, analyze what's going on before giving any answer about a response.
So, but you think that Iran will, is there a response that we'll see from the other side?
What I'm trying to say, the war has already started. But is it finished? I don't see this. Because we are talking about a historical thing, a historical question. Our land is still occupied.
Okay.
So the answer will be decided upon with the development of things. But we will never ignore or forget our lands and rights.
Many experts who are looking at and who watch Israel very closely or are speaking from that perspective of Israel being right in what it's doing, say that that this is an opportunity for Israel to really do what they want to, finish the Hamas, finish Hezbollah, and the opportunity for them to make that land their own that they expanded from the original Israel. Is this also an opportunity for the other side? Are you looking at it as an opportunity to end this once and for all and get a solution?
Look, dear, rich civilizations, they know how to meet. And they can understand history very well. The countries who emerged and rised on the basis of excessive force and power, they will demise on the same basis.
All right. Let's zoom out a little. About the international community then. We've seen reaction, we've seen very strong reaction from the international community coming out and saying that this war should stop, that this provocation and escalation should stop. But on the ground, nothing has really happened. Is are the countries that are under attack disappointed with the international community?
I mean, the description, not necessarily disappointed or satisfied. International law should be respected in all cases. Peace should be respected in all cases, and rights of people should be respected in all cases.
Okay. But the United Nations Security Council has failed in many ways. There has been immense pressure from the US
True.
For Israel to stop. Do you think that pressure from Washington, D.C. is genuine, that they have been real in putting pressure and Netanyahu is not listening? Or is it just one way of showing that, yes, we are putting pressure, but then allowing Israel to do what they want?
Israel cannot fight without the support from the Americans. Couldn't do this without the support from the Americans. For the Security Council, you know, the Security Council nowadays, without saying that much, it's under the Western pressure. And they do, in most of the cases, what the West wants to do. Now I urge superpowers, new superpowers like India, to call to stop such brutal actions and aggressions from Israel, and to keep the process of Indian civilization for calling for peace. India has never invaded anyone, and it's expected not to support anyone who goes in the opposite way.
Okay, just two more questions. You spoke about India, so I have to ask you this, Ambassador Al-Khatib. India has played an important role in this entire scenario where they're talking about this is not an era of war. Prime Minister Modi has been saying it all over again and again. Do you think India can play a role over here between Israel and Palestine, between Israel and the rest of the countries who are also friends of India?
Absolutely, yes. And we are calling India to take the role India deserves in the world.
Which is?
We hope to see, with a reformed Security Council, a role for India deserves.
At the Security Council as well.
True.
On that note, Ambassador Al-Khatib, thank you so much for joining us here on the India Today Network. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the chance, and once again, happy Diwali.
Thank you so much to our viewers as well. Thank you.
Thank you.